The junk fields of Kefrenine stretched farther than the eye could see, mountains of broken machines, shattered hulls, twisted engine cores, and the rusted skeletons of ships older than recorded history. No one lived here by choice, except her. She moved slowly through the metallic desert, barefoot on razor-edge scrap, guided only by the tapping of her thin metal cane. Her eyes were clouded white, long dead beneath scar tissue from an orbital firestorm. She didn't remember her name was Ari. She was 12 cycles old, and she survived by eating what others threw away each day. Ari searched the trash fields for 3 things: soft plastic she could burn for warmth, discarded nutrient gel packets that still had mold-free corners, broken circuit insulation, which she chewed to numb hunger. She did not cry anymore. Crying burned calories. 1. The rule of the junk fields Kefrenine was controlled by scavenger syndicates. They did not care about the blind girl, as long as she stayed small, as long as she stayed quiet, as long as she took only the garbage that even they considered worthless. But today, she found something different. Her cane struck metal that rang, not dead. Scrap, not hollow debris. Something solid, something sealed. She knelt and felt along the surface with dirt-caked fingers. Smooth edges, no corrosion. A container. Her stomach twisted. Sealed containers didn't exist in the junk fields. Not unless something very valuable had been dumped deliberately. Ari hesitated, then hunger won. She felt along the top until her fingers found a cracked latch. With effort, she pulled. The lid snapped open. Cold air spilled out, and a faint humming sound vibrated against her palms. Inside were dozens of small, flat metal discs, cold, warm at the center. Still alive, she didn't know what they were. She only knew they weren't food, so she took just one, because taking all of them might make someone angry. 2. The price of not KONOWING that night. Ari crouched inside her sheet metal shelter, half buried. Escape pod split open like a cracked egg. She rubbed the disc between her palms. It pulsed faintly, warm, comforting. Then the shadows outside shifted. Heavy boots crushed metal, not scavengers, raiders. They smelled sealed tech. They always did. A voice snarled outside. Little ghost rat. You found something. Ari pressed the disc to her chest. I didn't take much, she whispered. A hand tore through the doorway and grabbed her by the collar. She flew backward into the junk with a cry. Where is it? The raider hissed. She shook her head. He raised. A shock dash prod, and then a new sound cut across the junk fields. A sound none of them had heard here before. A human voice. Hey. Calm. Steady. Close. You don't want to do that. The raiders turned human, male, standing, lone on a scrap ridge with a rifle slung over his shoulder. No syndicate markings, no armor, just dust-stained clothes and tired eyes. You lost, human. The raider laughed. The man shook his head. No. He said, I found her. 3. The treasure of TRS. The fight didn't last long. Humans didn't fight like raiders. They didn't posture. They didn't threaten. They ended things. 3 shots. 3 bodies. Silence returned to the junk fields. Ari lay shaking, clutching the disc. The human knelt beside her slowly. He didn't touch her, didn't grab her, didn't rush. What's your name? He asked softly. She swallowed. Ari. Jonah. He waited. Are you hurt? She shook her head. He exhaled with relief. Then he noticed the disc in her hands and froze. Ari, he whispered, where did you find that? The sealed box, she said. Near the broken tower. Jonah's hands trembled. Ari, he said carefully, do you know what this is? She shook her head again. His voice cracked. It's a terraceid core. She tilted her head. What does that mean? His throat tightened. It means you're holding the future of dead worlds. For what the disc really was. Jonah led Ari away from the junk fields that night. Not far, just to a hidden shelter carved beneath a collapsed transport bridge. Inside, real warmth hummed from a reactor core. Real water steamed in a metal cup. Ari flinched. At every unfamiliar sound, Jonah placed the disc on a scanner. The display flared to life. Terra-seed. Core Genesis Gradiona whispered in disbelief. They threw it away. Ari sat cross-legged. Is it food? He looked at her, then shook his head slowly. No, he said. He knelt in front of her. This device can turn a dead planet into a living one. Her breath hitched. Like growing food? Like growing oceans. Forests, sky. She was silent. Then she asked quietly, then why was it in the trash? Jonah closed his eyes. Because the people who owned it already had more worlds than they could ever care about. 5. A girl who couldn't see Sunla GHT over the next few days. Jonah stayed. He cleaned Ari's wounds. He taught her to recognize real food by smell. He showed her water that didn't burn her throat. He talked a lot. Ari listened. Always. One evening, she asked softly, what is sunlight like? Jonah froze. You've never seen it? She shook her head. I lost my eyes in the sky fire. He swallowed hard. It's warm, he said. But not like fire. Gentle. Like it's holding you without touching. She smiled faintly. I think I'd like that. Ow. Jonah stared at the Terraseed core on the table and made a decision that would break the galaxy's laws. 6. The world. Shouldn't be XSS They stole a ship. Not heroically. Clumsily alarms. Screaming, security drones blasting Jonah. Flew like a madman through asteroid. Fire, while Ari held the Terracore against her chest and whispered apologies to the universe, they jumped without clearance, without charts, without permission. They reached a dead world. A burned rock, drifting alone. No atmosphere, no life. Nothing but stone. Jonah carried Ari onto the eye. Surface. The Terraseed core activated. The ground shook. The sky ignited oxygen. Bloomed like invisible wildfire. Rain fell for the first time in 10 million years. Soil formed. Grass unfolded. Cross continents in minutes. Jonah laughed through tears. Ari lifted her face. What's happening? She whispered. Sunlight, said. And for the first time in her life she felt warmth on her skin that did not hurt. 7. The galaxy comes to take IT. By Seek, they didn't have long. Terraforming cores were registered across every empire. The activation sent a beacon no power could ignore. Fleets, converged. Corporations, warlords. Governments, all coming to reclaim what had been discarded. And this time, they wouldn't ignore the blind girl. 8. The sky fills with Tai-S. The new world did not even have a name yet. Just blue sky, fresh rain. Wind that carried the scent of living soil. Ari stood barefoot in grass that hadn't existed a week ago. She laughed softly as it brushed her ankles. Jonah watched the sky, and his smile faded. Ships, he whispered. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They dropped out of warp, like wolves catching scent of blood. Ari's fingers tightened around his sleeve. They came for the disc. They came for you, Jonah said. 9. The ones who once owned the TRSH, the first landing craft, bore the sigil of the Varex Dominion. One of the richest planetary corporations in 3-star arms, their commander stepped out in silver armor. Well, he said pleasantly, scanning the newborn forests, our property seems to have sprouted nicely. Jonah raised his rifle. You threw it away, he said. The commander laughed. We misplaced it. Minor difference. Then his eyes fell on Ari. And who was the little scavenger? Ari felt the air change. Not danger. Ownership. Jonah stepped in. Front of her, she's not for sale. The commander's smile widened. Everything is for sale, human. 10. The truth about Jo and H. They were taken alive, stunned, disarmed, dragged into orbit, aboard a corporate dread carrier, inside a glass-walled interrogation chamber. Jonah finally told Ari the truth. I used to be a Terra engineer, he said quietly. I helped design the cores. Ari tilted her head. Then why were you in the trash fields? His voice broke. Because when the company decided to abandon dying worlds instead of saving them, I sabotaged shipments. I gave course to rebels. 2 refugees, and they hunted everyone like me. I barely survived. Ari reached out and found his hand. You showed me sunlight, she said. That means you're good. Jonah closed his eyes. 11. The auction of a living WORL, the Dominion. Did not plan a trial. They planned an auction, broadcast across the galaxy. This world, the auctioneer announced, has already completed first stage genesis. Stability guaranteed. Biosphere compatible with 94% of known species. Ari sat shackled beside Jonah. She could not see the crowd, but she could hear them, the breathing, the greed, the hunger. Bids climbed into numbers Jonah had no words for. Then, one bidder asked, "What about the girl?" The room quieted. The auctioneer smiled. The girl activated the core. Her neural imprint remains compatible with unused Terra seeds. Ari felt Jonah go rigid. She's a living key, the auctioneer continued. She can wake dead worlds. Bidding doubled 12. When a child speaks in a room of Amoan est CRS the restraints. On Ari's wrists hummed with energy. Still, she raised her head. Excuse me? She said softly. The auction halted. I just want to ask something. Laughter rippled through the chamber. The auctioneer gestured indulgently. Speak, little one. Ari swallowed. Why do you need more worlds, when you already threw one away? Silence spread like spilled oil. No one answered, because there was no answer that didn't reveal the truth. They didn't need worlds, they needed ownership. Part 3. What Real Treasure? IS-13. Jonah's Last. Emovi Jonah leaned close to Ari. Listen to me, he whispered. When I say run, you run. She shook her head. I won't leave you, he smiled sadly. I know. Then he slammed his forehead into the control panel. It's built into their restraints. The feedback surge raced through the bindings. Alarms howled. Gravity flickered. Jonah grabbed Ari and ran. 14. The escape through 5 for security drones poured into the chamber. Jonah fired until the rifle melted. They burst into a hangar where ships, lifted in panic. Blaster fire tore through metal. Jonah shoved Ari into a small shuttle. I'll draw them away. No, she cried. He crouched and took her hands. You've already changed the universe once, he said. Now let it keep you. He sealed the hatch and ran straight into the gunfire. 15. The blind girl, Flessalonis, screamed as the shuttle launched. Blindly into space. She had no idea where she was going, only that Jonah's life had bought her. Few seconds, the shuttle's navigation failed. Power drained. She drifted crying, for the first time since the junk. Fields she cried without worrying about calories. 16. The ones who heard her STORWE, the ship that found her belonged to no empire. It belonged to pilgrims, species that had lost worlds. Families that had nowhere left to stand. Refugees who had heard rumors of a girl who made planets live. They listened as Ari told them everything about the trash. About the disk, about Jonah, and about the world that had been born. When she finished, no one spoke. Then 1,000 voices said the same word. Home. 17. The second WORL, together. They returned not as soldiers, as survivors. They activated the dormant. Secondary systems Jonah had hidden. Oceans grew deeper. Forests spread wider. Cities were shaped with hands, not bombs. And the world was named it. Last Jonah 4. The man who believed trash could be treasured. 18. The empires. Failed to take ITBA Sakatha. Dominion returned. So did others. But this time, they did not face one blind girl. They faced millions who finally had a world that was theirs. And the galaxy learned something no corporation had ever calculated. You can conquer territory, but you cannot outbid hope. The attacks failed. The sanctions failed. The threats failed because the people of Jonah had nothing left to lose and everything left to protect. 19. The girl who learned. What light WI Sears passed, Ari grew. Doctors tried to restore her sight. It didn't work. The damage was too old. But one evening, as she stood on a hill overlooking oceans she once could not imagine, she didn't feel sad. "Describe it to me," she asked a child beside her. The boy smiled. "The sunset is gold and purple and on fire." Marie smiled. "I like gold," she said. 20 Epilogue. 2 years you're wrong after the auction halls were dust. Long after the junk fields were forgotten, story remained, not of a terracore, not of a stolen world, but of a blind girl who ate trash to survive and a human who looked at garbage and said, "No, this is the future." And the galaxy finally learned the difference between wealth and worth.